Hey everybody, welcome to Bura Tech. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how El Salvador bought Bitcoin and made it legal tender. Alright, welcome back. For this video, make sure you like, subscribe. The more like subscribes you get, the more content we can make. The number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get into the money-making trends before it goes mainstream. So, El Salvador just bought $21 million worth of Bitcoin and is just about to make it legal tender. Now, this is very significant. Whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, let's find out. But it is absolutely significant, and it was only a matter of time before a country bought some Bitcoin and made it legal tender. So when it comes to currencies, oftentimes a country has a central bank. Most people know of the Federal Reserve or the Fed. We also have the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, Bank of Japan. These are some of the bigger ones around the world. Now, of course, the Federal Reserve is the #1 central bank, but the thing is that all these other countries have central banks that not only hold US dollars, but they sometimes hold gold and their own currency. So the point of a central bank is to basically consolidate all of the monetary policy into kind of one institution. Now, oftentimes this institution is supposed to be separated from political activity, but well, if you look into central banks, that's not usually the case. So in the past, when the world was on a gold standard, usually a central bank would have gold reserves, or they might have some other kind of reserves or things on their balance sheets like loans or something that might produce them money. And the other way you can think of it is that the central bank kind of has a bunch of things on their balance sheets. Like if a consumer had a house, that would be on the consumer's balance sheet. And if the central bank had, let's say, student loans or a bunch of gold on their balance sheet, it would be kind of the same thing. So in the past, central banks would hold a lot of gold, but a lot of central banks would go and sell their gold for a profit. So if you ever have 1 gold ounce, you actually have more gold ounces than Canada, because Canada's central bank doesn't own any gold at all. Now, of course, the US has gold and a lot of other banks do have gold. Now, where I'm going with this is that El Salvador decided to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and it decided to make it legal tender, meaning that you could go to a shop and buy your gum with Bitcoin. So of course, these are a whole bunch of technical issues. First of all, do you have a wallet that can pay someone in Bitcoin, and does the merchant that you're buying it from actually have Bitcoin? Well, probably not, because I definitely haven't paid for any kind of goods and services with cryptocurrency, although people do it, but it's going to get more and more common in the future, especially after this announcement. But the reason why this is significant is that there are a ton of different things that you can add and buy to make legal tender in your country. In fact, a few hundred years ago, you could pay for something with a silver coin or a gold coin or even perhaps a copper coin, depending on where you were. Now, this is something that was legal tender. There was a coin that was literally 100% silver, which was stamped by the country, and you can go pay for it. So now there's a bunch of different options. Well, El Salvador has its own currency, and you could use US dollars, or you could use Bitcoin, or perhaps Ethereum, or maybe Cardano, or any other cryptocurrency. Now, this is the thing that I find really exciting about this whole thing, is that you now have multiple different options to store your value. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned that the #1 thing that you should look for if you're going to move to a place is whether or not there's capital gains tax. Because if there's no capital gains tax in your country, then you can move your money freely between gold, silver, or any kind of cryptocurrency, and it can preserve your wealth. So the central banks can print as much money as they want, but as long as you put your hard-earned time into a good store of value, then you're not going to be taxed with the capital gains. And it's up to you whether or not you want to do gold, silver, or any kind of cryptocurrency, or you could keep it in fiat US dollars, but that's up to you. Now, El Salvador again had a bunch of different options when it came to buying any kind of cryptocurrency. They could have bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano, or even they could have bought Dogecoin. I would find it very funny if a country made Dogecoin legal tender. That will happen in the future. The question is just when. But nevertheless, there are options that they could have picked. And Bitcoin, of course, is the foundation of the cryptocurrency market. And it's a good place to start. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if governments start buying Ethereum and start staking it. In fact, if I was a government, I would do that right now with Ethereum and Cardano. Imagine what would happen is if a government bought, let's say, 100 million or 200 million or $1 billion worth of Cardano, or let's say Ethereum. That would be incredibly huge. And if you don't own those two coins, I don't know what you're doing. You have to buy those two coins. So when it comes to Ethereum and Cardano, you can stake those coins and get a return. That can be 4, 5, 6, or maybe even 7%. And if a government bought a lot of that, let's say 100 million, they would be getting 5, 6, 7% a year on their return. That would be something that's very interesting. Now, of course, the difference between Ethereum and Cardano is that Cardano has a hard limit of supply. Now, I like Cardano for this feature a little bit more. Ethereum technically has an infinite supply, but it doesn't matter. Ethereum and Cardano, while they do something very similar, they're very, very good coins to have. Now, going back to gold, gold is one of the stores of value that has stood the test of time, and it is probably the most durable store of value because remember, a solar flare can wipe out all of cryptocurrency, or at least send it down. And this is a real threat that I rarely see people in the cryptocurrency community talk about. Nevertheless, there's a lot of banks, specifically in Central Asia, that are buying up gold. Now, I would not be surprised if one of these cryptocurrencies start buying Cardano and start using the Cardano infrastructure to make their country better. They're already doing it in Ethiopia, so why not do it in a Central Asian country? Now, if they added Cardano to the balance sheet of the central bank and started staking it, and the Federal Reserve started printing a gajillion dollars like they're currently doing, well then guess what? That central bank and that particular country is going to be far ahead. Now, of course, there's other coins that you can stake. But the thing is that since Cardano is already being used in Ethiopia to make decentralized apps, then it is a very good candidate for any country that's willing to modernize their infrastructure. Since Cardano is going to be used in Ethiopia to create decentralized apps, or dApps, it makes sense for a lot of these Central Asian countries to upgrade their digital infrastructure as well. There's a lot of really cool things, and on September 12th, which is coming up very soon, Cardano will have dApp features, and that's going to be absolutely amazing. So it's only a matter of time before some of these central banks start putting these other cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin, on their balance sheet. Because if they can print money to buy something that's very pristine collateral, that is something that's really good, because that's another thing. So this is a topic for perhaps a different time, but the world is running out of pristine collateral. And because this is a problem, that's one of the reasons why cryptocurrency is going up. Now, of course, I have mentioned many times on this YouTube channel that you can't just put in a bunch of money into cryptocurrency and not have a job. You actually have to have a source of income. Now, the reason why this whole thing is important, though, is that the attitudes around cryptocurrency is changing, and cryptocurrency is becoming more and more mainstream. And if you already own some cryptocurrency, you are still way ahead of the game. Have you ever tried to convince someone to buy cryptocurrency? A lot of times they don't do that. But here's the thing. Dollars or any kind of fiat currency is loaned into existence. So if you don't know how it works, for example, let's say I buy a house for $1 million, I put 20% down, let's say $200,000. So guess what? When I go and close that mortgage, someone literally types something into a computer that's $800,000 and they give me the mortgage, and then boom, all of a sudden $800,000 has just magically been created. So a lot of people think, well, Bitcoin isn't really real. Well, are the dollars real? Well, the thing is that dollars are backed up by governments, and governments are, well, pretty stable, at least for the time being. And because governments are stable and they're usually backed up with a military, that makes the dollar worth something. However, the cryptocurrencies are backed up by a decentralized network effect, and the more the network effect grows, the more exponential the price is going to be. You have to understand this. So if you buy a stock and it 10x's, well, then you make 10 times the amount of money. So if you put $10,000 into a stock and it 10x's, well, guess what? It goes up to 100,000. But exponentially, that can go up to 1,000 or 10,000%, and all of a sudden you're really rich. And that's why you need to be in cryptocurrency, because it's possible that you might get an exponential return on your money. And this is something that you really need to do, because if you're working hard at a cafe or a programmer or you're a painter, or it doesn't really matter what you do, if you work hard, you need to preserve your time and wealth. And what's even better is that you would get a multiplier on your time. So if you try to save $1,000, wouldn't it be great in 5 years if that $1,000 was worth like $100,000 or $500,000? I think it would absolutely be. And so that's the whole point of cryptocurrency. So here's the thing, a lot of people think that they missed the boat? Well, it's possible that that boat might leave. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, it's going to be very hard to accrue more Bitcoin. So what I would recommend you do is buy a certain amount of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano every week. It doesn't have to be much, but you should do it. You can literally go into your Coinbase account, you can set up the recurring trade, and it can just simply debit from your account. And this is something that I would highly recommend you do. It doesn't have to be much. It can be 10, 20, 30, maybe even $40 a week, but as long as you do it, you're going to get a return in the end, and I highly recommend that you do that. So in conclusion, governments are starting to take cryptocurrencies very seriously, and El Salvador is probably the most recent example of the most serious case of a government really putting everything they have into Bitcoin. All right, so that concludes this video. I want to know your comments down below. How much cryptocurrency do you earn? Is there an altcoin that I should be looking at? Please write your comments down below. Remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon, instead we sell our digital products down. The more we're going to get from the content that you buy below, the more content we can make. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.